What was Jungkook hiding from the army? Why is taehyung suddenly talking? And what does all this have to do with Jimin and Jungkook's surprising decision to part ways from BTS? When the biggest secret is revealed in front of the cameras, the army is rendered speechless, and everything changes in an instant. Is this the beginning of the end of BTS as we know it? Is this just a passing wind, or a reality that has been hidden so neatly? When taehyung, V of BTS, suddenly spoke in a tone that had never been heard before, all attention was immediately drawn to him. He not only mentioned Jungkook's name, but also inserted a sentence that shook the bottom of the hearts of all the army. Jungkook kept it for too long. Jimin doesn't even know. What does that phrase mean? And why was the sentence uttered amid rumors that BTS's two youngest members, Jungkook and Jimin, are considering separating from the group after their military service is over? Is this just speculation? Or a fact too painful to admit directly? One thing is for sure. This is not the first time fans have smelled the scent of a split. But only this time, the source is taehyung himself, someone who has been known as the guardian of emotions in BTS's extended family. And now, he's raising his voice to reveal a secret that even the army isn't ready to hear. All this time we believed that they would always be together, that BTS is home, and all its members are family. But is it possible that the house is cracking from the inside? It all started with a private interview session that should never have been broadcast to the public. But somehow, the short footage leaked into the hands of fans, and in the 2-minute video, taehyung is seen sitting with a tired face, watery-looking eyes, and a trembling voice. It says, "Sometimes we have to let someone go, even if he is part of our life in the deepest." Jungkook isn't ready to tell Jimin, "But I know everything." The sentence contains more than just information. It was an emotional outburst that had been buried. And in that very second, armies all over the world began to ask, what is Jungkook hiding? Why doesn't Jim know? And what did taehyung mean when he said that they would part ways? Rumors that had been considered excessive now began to feel like reality. Since the two served their mandatory military service, the mood of the fans has begun to change. Jungkook was seen more often alone, and Jimin, although still smiling in front of the camera, said in a written message that not all feelings can be shared publicly. And now, after taehyung's remarks, it all comes down to one surprising fact. There's a big decision being considered by Jimin and Jungkook. It's not just about a solo career, but about getting out of BTS permanently. However, behind everything, there was a clue that was almost missed. And only those who really pay attention can see it. Some time ago, in a video call session with fans, Jungkook was seen hesitating when asked about the future of BTS. Usually, he will answer energetically, promising that they will return stronger than before. But this time, he just said, "We'll see." Sometimes a person's heart changes. The speech may feel familiar, but in its present context, it is a signal. What about Jimin? Why is he also associated in this? And what exactly is Jungkook hiding to the point that taehyung feels the need to open up? In an unofficial document reportedly circulating in HYB's internal circles, there are indications that two major solo projects have been put forward by the management team for Jungkook and Jimin, complete with an overseas promotion schedule that does not include BTS's name at all. More surprisingly, the schedule was drawn up for the period after both were discharged from the military, and here lies the real conflict. HYB has not yet decided. They knew this decision could destroy BTS's image as a group. But they also knew that holding back the personal ambitions of these two biggest stars could shatter everything from the inside. Other small clues began to emerge. Taehyung, who unfollowed one of Jungkook's new project-related accounts, then followed back the next day. Jimin, who deleted some of his old posts containing BTS tags, as well as Jungkook's last live session, which ended abruptly when one of the fans asked about his future as a BTS member. Is this all a coincidence? Or are we witnessing history being torn apart, piece by piece? Taehyung, in a follow-up to his interview that has now been confirmed by multiple witnesses as part of HYB's internal documentary sessions, also said, Jungkook has a plan, but he's not ready to talk. And Jimin, he was hurt because he didn't feel like he was being spoken to. I just hope they choose by heart, not because of pressure from anyone. That sentence seemed to cut the hearts of the fans. Jungkook and Jimin hurt each other? Was the decision to separate from the group also due to a personal conflict that was not known to the public? And if so, why did HYB choose to remain silent? The army is now divided. Some insist on believing that this is just a momentary storm, that everything will return to the way it was. But there are also those who are starting to accept the fact that BTS will never be the same again, because Jimin and Jungkook may be gone for good. But amid all the sadness and uncertainty, one thing becomes clear. Taehyung will not stand still. He not only reveals, but also warns that whatever decision will be made, the army has a right to know. Because the army is not just a spectator. They are part of this journey, and perhaps behind everything, Taehyung just wants to make sure of one thing, that their friendship, while perhaps no longer together in one group, lives on, albeit in a different form. But the question remains, are Jungkook and Jimin really leaving BTS? Is the decision already made, and we are just waiting for the time until it is officially announced? And if that happens, what will be left of our beloved BTS? We don't know the answer yet. But one thing is certain. This is not the end of the story. This is the beginning of the most emotional chapter in BTS history. And now, all eyes are on Taehyung because he's the one who started it all, and maybe he's the only one who can save her. If Taehyung has spoken, then something very deep must be going on. The army knew Jungkook as the Golden Magne, a strong, talented, hardworking man who rarely showed his fragile side. But in recent months, that vibe has slowly changed. For some reason, his eyes were getting blank. The laughter is no longer as bright as it used to be. Even when appearing at an internal military event some time ago, he was recorded on camera staring at the night sky while holding a letter called from Jimin. That 1 second made it all feel unusual. Was the letter part of their quarrel? Or is it precisely the part of the breakup that has been talked about secretly? Taehyung, in follow-up footage of the internal documentary that has not been officially released but whose leaked transcript is circulating in limited circles, mentioned that Jungkook bore something too heavy for himself. He told me, "Hyung, if I talk, everything can change." But I said, "If you keep quiet, you will be destroyed." The sentence not only describes Jungkook's emotional burden, but also a secret that has been covered up. A secret that, if revealed, could change BTS's face forever. And in that secret, Jimin's name always comes up. Jimin is known as a loving figure. He is always the most expressive, the most caring, the most sensitive. But in some of his old interviews, if we rewind them, there will appear to be questions that are not fully answered. I wish I knew everything, but sometimes we have to accept that the people we love don't want us to know. Jimin said at last year's anniversary event. Now, that quote feels much more painful than before. I end one of the V-Live moments before they entered the army. Jimin had said with a smile, "If I leave, you will still wait for me, right?" At the time, the fans thought it was a joke. But is it really a clue? Did Jimin know for a long time that there would be a moment when he would have to make a big decision, to stay in BTS or to save himself from a deep wound? If you think that Taehyung is just an observer, you are mistaken. Taehyung is the emotional guardian of the group. He was not just a friend, but a brother. And when he decides to talk, it means he doesn't want everything to fall apart. Quietly point one of the most heartbreaking parts of the documentary is when Taehyung, staring at an old photo of the three of them in Japan, says, "We had an agreement that if one of us was tired, the other would hold hands and say, 'I'm still here.' But now I see two people who stay away from each other because they love too much but are afraid to talk." It burned the heart of the army. How could such a deep love turn into distance? Do the three of them harbor the same wounds, but never really sit down to acknowledge each other? And just as all those questions were raging, came one of the most thrilling surprises from within HYB's own internal team, Jimin and Jungkook's farewell concert proposal. A one-night concert, not as a member of BTS, but as two solo artists who want to deliver an open letter to each other. Is this the end? Or just pause to restart? Some BTS staff accidentally found a piece of paper left behind in their old rehearsal studio in Gangnam. The letter was unsigned, but almost everyone who read it claimed it was Jungkook's handwriting. Contents: "If I could turn back time, I would have spoken to you earlier. But now, Even if I talk, I'm afraid you'll leave. And I'm not ready to lose you, not as a member, but as the only one who ever truly understood me. Is that a letter to Jimin? Or for taehyung? Whatever it is, what is clear? Jungkook is A. Imagine, just a few days before Jungkook and Jimin were drafted, they were sitting together in a quiet training room. The dim lights, the smell of sweat, and the rubber mat still remained, enveloping the space full of memories. No camera, no one else, just two souls talking in silence. Jimin began with a trembling voice. You know, I'm scared. I'm afraid we won't be the same after this. Jungkook nodded slowly, but his eyes couldn't hide the anxiety. Me too. But I can't say this to anyone. If I talk, HYB can change her mind, and we're stuck. Jimin's bitter smile accompanied his reply. They're not family, Jungkook. We have to take care of our own families. The conversation was the clearest clue yet as to what was really going through their minds. There was a good chance they would pursue separate careers. And not just solo, but also a farewell from BTS, which has always been their home. When this news began to blow behind the scenes, RM and Jin were the two figures who were hardest hit. RM, as a leader who always maintains harmony, feels devastated but also confused about what to do. I have to talk to them, but I'm afraid my words will only make things worse, he said in a leaked private interview. Jin, who always looked strong, even cried when he found out this news. For him, BTS is a family, and losing two members at once is a heavy blow that is not easy to accept. They both try to bridge the communication, but the secrets are too deep and each other's fears make it all feel like an impenetrable abyss. On a rare occasion, Jimin was caught on camera while training alone, and he unknowingly spoke softly to himself. I want to stay here, but I also want to be free of this pain. What did I do wrong that I had to choose this? That sentence made many suspect that Jimin had been carrying a huge emotional burden, not only from the pressure of the group, but also from his personal relationship with Jungkook and taehyung. Recently, Jungkook released a solo song called Shadowed Heart, whose lyrics are full of allusions to betrayal, loss, and sacrifice. Some observant fans noticed that her lyrics seemed to hint at an internal conflict that she had never openly expressed. When the light fades and the shadows grow, who will stand and who will go? Is this a code or just an expression of his feelings? There is also a lot of debate about the meaning behind the song. Not many know that Jungkook and Jimin's friendship and cooperation were not always smooth. In an old interview, Jungkook once hinted that there were difficult times when they had disagreements, even to the point of moving away from each other. We had a big fight. We barely spoke for months, he said. Those old wounds turned out to be at the root of the conflict that is now beginning to resurface on the surface. To this day, the final decision has not been taken. However, with all the clues and emotions revealed, ARMY must be prepared for the high possibility that the BTS we have known so far will undergo major changes. Will taehyung continue to fight to keep the group together? Are Jimin and Jungkook really leaving? Or will HYB intervene with a surprising decision? All is still a mystery. According to a highly trusted source close to the agency, Jimin and Jungkook had a closed-door meeting with HYB's top brass a few weeks ago. The meeting, which lasted until late at night, allegedly seriously discussed their future. There is a very pronounced tension, not only about the contract, but about how they want to live, not just as idols but as human beings, the source said. However, HYB appeared hesitant to give the full green light, as the decision could shake the foundations of BTS and the K-pop industry globally. Amid fan and media pressure, the agency is trying to find a solution that doesn't hurt anyone. Taehyung, who has always been known as the group's emotional bridge, struggles to keep the balance between his two fractured best friends. He realized that if Jimin and Jungkook chose their respective paths, not only BTS would lose two members, but also him. And the recently leaked audio recording, Taehyung is heard saying, "I don't want to lose you guys, but I don't want you to keep getting hurt either. I just want us to be able to really talk without fear. If we can get through this, I'm sure we can be stronger." However, those words seemed to be a prayer in the midst of a storm that he could not control. From the side of fans, this news caused a wave of incredible emotions. There are those who support Jimin and Jungkook's decision to pursue personal happiness, but not a few are devastated and afraid of losing the face of BTS that they have loved. The heated discussion colored social media, with hashtags #StayBTS and #RespectTheirChoice clashing in a tearful and harrowing debate. I love them, but I also want them to be happy. If it means they have to leave, I will keep supporting, one ARMY member wrote, while another said, BTS is not just about music, but family. I'm afraid this family will break up. This story is not just about popularity or career. It's about dreams that grow together and realities that force them to choose, Jungkook once said in a closed-door interview.